Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council held at November 12th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamakis, the unceded territory of Yakutat Nucleat First Nation. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakutat Nucleat and are members of the Tanaha-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. Before I call the meeting to order, I'd like to take this opportunity to mark the passing of former British Columbia Premier John Horgan, who passed away this morning in Royal Jubilee Hospital in Victoria after a long and recurring battle with cancer. And I had the opportunity to meet the Premier on several occasions, both professionally and personally. And I had a great fondness for him. And so he served our province honorably, and it is a great loss. And our thoughts go out to his friends and family at this time. I'd also like to express my gratitude to live in a community that supported such an incredible turnout to the Remembrance Day ceremonies yesterday. I was truly impressed and truly grateful for everybody who came. It seems to get bigger every year. I want to thank the Fernie Legion Branch 36 and their executive and of course their president, Jennifer Cronin, for all they do in terms of remembering our vets. And it was a very powerful experience. And so I thank them. And once again, thank the community for turning out in such numbers. And lastly, I just wanted to thank, now that we're in a regular meeting, I wanted to thank Councillor Shoesmith for covering for me while I was away. Initially on holiday, but ultimately dealing with family matters. So I'm very grateful to you for stepping up as Deputy Mayor, Councillor Shoesmith. Thank you. And with that, I will call the meeting to order and ask for a mover and a seconder that the agenda of the November 12th, 2024 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Audia Kelly. I'll try and keep one eye on the screen. Item 4.1. Mover and seconder for the following staff recommendation that the minutes of regular council meeting held on October 8th, 2024 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And again, for the following staff recommendation, 4.2, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held October 22nd, 2024 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And finally, that the minutes of the special council meeting held October 31st, 2024 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous once again. Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public participation and invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit, and a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. So I'll first look to the room and see if there's anybody in attendance in the gallery who would like to speak. Seeing none, I'll turn to Ms. Chow. Anybody online? Thank you so much. That moves us along briskly to item 10.1, and I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation that council adopt zoning bylaw number 1750, amendment bylaw number 2477, 2024. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Is there any discussion? Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just trying to find the specific reference. In the NMU mixed use, permitted uses, it's number 2, the following uses and no other shall be permitted in the NMU subarea. And then it goes on to list a number of uses. I'm curious how those uses were arrived at. In particular, you know, my question mainly revolves around number 2, which is a bicycle rental shop. And given the language, no other, you know, no one could open a ski rental shop or a snowshoe rental shop, perhaps. And I'm just curious if that language is that exclusive or what the process to get to arrive at that was.
Mr. Similini?
First of all, welcome back, Your Worship, and through to council. The arriving there was part of the application from the applicant, but as far as the permitted uses go, that is a very specific use. However, there are other uses listed in there as well, such as retail, which are more general, right? So, but as far as rental goes, the way it's worded there, if generally when you have a zoning bylaw and you have something isn't listed as a specific use, then it would not be a permitted use, especially if it's listed elsewhere in the bylaw. In the case of a ski rental shop, there isn't another ski rental shop listed in our bylaw. But your assumption is correct that, you know, these uses and no other shall be allowed. So something like a ski rental shop or a rollerblade rental shop or whatever you might have would fall outside of that permitted use.
Thank you. Any other discussion? While you're there, Mr. Similini, I just have one. It's a fairly general question. I believe I know the answer to it, but having read the package and all the materials provided for the meeting I wasn't in attendance at, I just wanted to confirm there's nothing in this rezoning that, if approved, puts us, the city of Fernie, in contravention of any provincial legislation vis-a-vis creating some level of restricted zoning.
Your Worship, through the council, that's correct. So that there's in that new legislation for small scale multi-unit housing and residential housing in general, this rezoning meets those points in the Local Government Act.
Thank you, Mr. Similini. If there's no other discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. This moves us on to item 11.1, Fernie Chamber of Commerce request for council liaison. Report from our corporate officer, Ms. Daniel.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. So I am here tonight to present the Fernie Chamber of Commerce's request for a council liaison appointment to their board. The purpose of the proposed position would be to enhance communication and strengthen the partnership between the Fernie Chamber of Commerce and the City of Fernie. The liaison position would be a non-voting member of the board, and the term of appointment would be for 1 year with the possibility of renewal based on mutual agreement. The liaison would not be required to attend every Fernie Chamber of Commerce board meeting, but rather would be invited to attend meetings where they believe that relevant topics or shared strategic agenda objectives were on the agenda. And so some of the proposed roles and responsibilities of this liaison position would be to attend meetings when invited, particularly when topics relevant to the city are on the agenda, to facilitate the flow of information between the city and the, I'm going to call it the FCC, so I don't keep saying Fernie Chamber of Commerce, ensuring both parties are informed of relevant developments, decisions, and initiatives, to provide insights and feedback on council priorities, policies, and plans that may impact the FCC and members, as well as to support the development of partnership and collaborations that enhance the local economy and business environment in Fernie. So I am here to support council as they discussed this proposed request.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. Questions from council? Seeing none, I think in the past we've first asked, is there anybody who's interested in this appointment? So I'll throw that to the group. I know some of you have already made commitments. Councillor Amadas?
Sorry, Your Worship. I'd be happy to, Your Worship, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Anyone else? I don't want to make it a competition. Please, yeah.
I wouldn't mind FTA either. Yeah, I'll leave it up to my colleagues and yourself to make that decision.
Okay, I'm happy myself to take on either. Do you have a preference one way or another? And I'm going to ask this question, and it might be unfair, and I apologize if it is, but you've made it clear lately you've got a very demanding work schedule. So I don't know if you feel one, given that one is as I understand it, the chamber meetings are typically in the morning. I know you can attend electronically, but just wanted to throw that out there. I want to be sympathetic to that, I guess, is ultimately.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thanks, Your Worship. I did read that, and I'm aware of that. I will have to make work arrangements to be able to attend that. Like if there was an option between this and the Trails Alliance, while I'm okay with either of them, chamber is something that I would contribute more, is how I feel. But again, I'll leave it up to my colleagues and yourself.
No, absolutely fair. You've put your name forward. I'm happy to support that.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Ms. Daniel.
That's all right. There's no prepared resolution. It would be that council appoint Councillor Ramadas to the Fernie Chamber of Commerce liaison position.
I have a mover for that. Councillor Shoesmith, seconded by Councillor Nixon. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ramadas. I'm sure the chamber will be delighted. You may as well carry on.
Okay. Now I'm just going to speak to another request for a council liaison, this time from the Fernie Trails Alliance. Similar to the Chamber of Commerce position, it would be a non-voting member for a term of 1 year. Again, they would not be required to attend every single board meeting, but would rather be invited to attend meetings that they believed relevant topics were being shared, or there were shared strategic objectives on the agenda. And again, some of the similar roles and responsibilities would be to attend meetings when invited, to facilitate the flow of information between both the city and the Fernie Trails Alliance, providing insights and feedback on council priorities and policies and how it may affect the FTA, as well as identifying opportunities for the city and the FTA to work together. This one is a little bit unique. We have never appointed a council member to the Fernie Trails Alliance in the past, so this would be a new position.
Thank you. Questions from council? Comments? Interest? You already have one council appointment. Again, conscious of that, I don't want to overload you. But while I'd be happy to do this, you have vastly more experience with both the Trail Alliance and the Trails.
Thank you, Worship. It's a great learning opportunity for everybody, if anybody wants to do it. And it's only for a year as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if that's the case, I'd be happy to take it on.
The resolution would be that council appoint Mayor Milligan to the Fernie Trails Alliance liaison position.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Ramadas. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, Councillor Shoesmith, sorry that.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I would be happy to take on one or two of these appointments next year or perhaps the following, time permitting. For now, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah, understood. Thank you for very good reasons. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Daniel. Oh, yes, Councillor Ramadas.
I have to ask the same question as you asked me. Like, mayor is a full-time job. This is additional responsibility. Would you?
No,
I
very much appreciate the question. A lot of and Councillor Shoesmith, I'm sure will support this. A lot of what the mayor is asked to do is reasonably ceremonial. So it'd be nice to sort of connect more directly in this way. So I'm happy to make time for it. But yeah, I'll certainly apprise council if I feel like I'm letting the end down. But thank you for the question. Item 11.3, the 2024-25 Winter Shuttle Agreement, a report from our CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's really a report from our former Director of Corporate Administration. However, it's just a simple presentation recommending the council approve the partnering agreement with Tunnel 49 Adventures for the provision of a winter shuttle service for 24-25 winter season, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute said agreement once the requirements for public notification are met. It's been a positive partnership service delivered through a partnering agreement. And as noted in the report, ridership continues to increase. We're over 10,500 now, up from about 6,800 the winter season before. The pilot during the summer season gave us some valuable learnings, and so staff are pleased to recommend that council endorse and authorize the execution of the agreement.
Thank you. Questions from council? Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. I know that it says in section 4B here, it says that T49 will provide a final and full report on ridership, rider satisfaction, and mileage to the city, accounting for provision of the service during the term, including a full reporting and reconciliation of use beyond the winter shuttle service. So, and maintenance and servicing records and all that kind of stuff. I think every year I might ask for this or to see if they've actually submitted it. And I know that their capacity is probably pretty low for a small business, but I'm wondering if have we ever got a full report from them?
Not as a package, your mayor and council, but we do receive information on maintenance, follow up on required maintenance and repairs, follow up on warranty and recalls and work that they've done, and do get tracking of ridership and mileage at the end of the year. Typically, they come in separate bits and bobs, but certainly as we continue to work on our reporting in a number of areas where we operate shared services, we can tighten that up and consolidate it all for council before the consideration of the next agreement.
Councillor Stu-Smith.
I was just standing in for Councillor Audia Kelly.
Oh,
it's easy to miss
Thank
the
you.
little hand on the
It
screen.
really is. Councillor Audia Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks, Councillor Shoesmith. CAO, if I may, I wanted to ask about the asset management piece, because I remember when I was on the board of the RMI that got the first shuttles. And as I recall, we had a mechanism for asset managing the vehicles so that we could replace them when needed. And I noted that, of course, we can't do that with RMI funds. So I wondered if we are still, how we're working that now.
Mayor and council, thank you for the question. We are not allowed to save RMI funds in a reserve to replace capital goods. When we procure or invest or build capital that is funded through RMI, we or a partnering organization are required to own it for a minimum of 5 years before disposition. We will have to look at time of replacement to our RMI reserve or to our annual RMI funding should we want to procure new buses to replace these. They're not part of our fleet program, and so contributions don't go annually to replace these. The program now is to rely on the future year's contribution to replace the buses at such a time if we deem that necessary.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Worship. I actually had the exact same question as Councillor Nixon written down, but then I had a second question from that. In the language of the agreement, it says the provision of this service will be to the benefit of the residents of the city. And I'm just curious in the reporting if we know what the residents' ridership is, or if we have any data metrics on how this has benefited residents of the city as opposed to the tourism economy.
Mayor and council, thank you. As a municipal service that we offer through a partnering agreement, council must make it whereas they believe it provides a benefit to the residents in the community. And so the thinking behind these is we're supporting not single occupancy vehicles on the highway, and we're supporting the tourism sector specifically for skiing and for summer riding where this operates. And so the benefit is definitely primarily to visitors, which is a requirement of the RMI program. through which the buses were procured, but a servicing agreement has to be made where council feels it is of benefit to the residents of the community. We do not separate out, we do not specifically have good data separated out on local riders versus visitors, but it is something that we could ask for tracking on.
Thank you, Mr. Bronowski. Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I was at the high school today and in one of the classrooms, and I did a very unofficial poll on the shuttle, very unofficial poll. And I had two students who remarked that they would take it in the summer more if there was a bike rack on it, which is fairly reasonable. So I don't know, how do we get a bike rack on that on those shuttles? Like, because that's what the kids want to do. They want to take the shuttle up there to ride their bikes.
Mayor and Council, I think a discussion with Tunnel 49 and Tourism Fernie, who are a partner, although not within our agreement, are certainly a significant partner in operating the service. Conversation with them on how we would divide those costs and finding a funding source. Personally, I agree. I think that's an important consideration. You've got people in Fernie who are mad for bikes, and putting them on a bike rack would be great.
Thank you. I had well, I guess it's a similar question to Councillor Audie Kelly's initial question about the replacement schedule for the shuttles. And so we operate them for a minimum of 5 years. And at that point, how do we track their performance, or do we, well, I guess we're continually tracking their performance in terms of maintenance reporting, but at some point it will cost more to run them and repair them than to get new ones. So
that's accurate, Your Worship. That's how we determined it was time to replace the old shuttles. They were costing more to maintain than it would to procure and own for 5 years a new set of shuttles, provided there were general revenues. In this case, the maintenance during the service and operating expenses are generally borne by the operator, so Tunnel 49. I believe there's some support from Tourism Fernie for the operation as well, although we're not party to that agreement. And then we monitor those records. We do not have to operate the shuttle service at all. We own the buses. And so staff are recommending that we continue to operate the shuttle service. As long as we own the buses for 5 years, we meet the terms of our agreement with the province. But it is of benefit to actually operate them, given that we own them.
Oh, 100%. Thank you. With that, I'm just checking, make sure there's no questions. Ask Ms. Daniel to read the recommendation.
That council approve the partnering agreement with Tunnel 49 Adventures, Inc. for the provision of a winter shuttle service for the 2024 to 2025 winter season, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement once public notification requirements have been met.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 11.4, the old fire hall ground lease with the Fernie Elk Valley Family Society. A report from our CAO, Mr. Bornowski.
Thank you again, Council. This was primarily negotiated with our former Director of Corporate Administration. However, it is a ground lease for the old fire hall site for the Elk Valley Family Society housing or mixed use commercial and housing project. Developed to the satisfaction of BC Housing and BC Builds, legal counsel, and that of the city. It's provided to council, and we do recommend execution or public notification, then execution of the lease. It's a 99-year term, as is preferred by BC Housing and BC Builds. It stipulates a base rent in the additional affordable housing components. Demolition remediation remains on the side of the society, so the city will not bear costs, as has been council's intent throughout. And the construction and use compliance, they're obliged to manage construction repairs and maintenance in compliance with our standards and bylaws. So all in all, this is generally based on what is becoming BC Housing and BC Builds new preferred template for these projects. And we're very excited to be recommending it in advance. There's also a brief update provided by New Commons attached to the report, just to provide council with a status update. In the future, more fulsome reporting will be coming forward.
Thank you, Mr. Barnowski. Questions from council? I just had one for my own clarification. So where the lease stipulates a base rent, that is base rent for the affordable housing units. It is not base rent paid to the city for the lease.
That is correct, Your
Okay.
Worship. Base rent to the city is, was it $1 or is it $10? I have to double check. $10.
$10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that because somebody had read the package and asked me that question and I stumbled on my answer. So thank you for clarifying. Councillor Hamilton.
This question's a little bit more esoteric in nature. I'm curious to know the history of their 5-year, I can't remember exactly how it's phrased, but if the building burns down in the last 5 years of the lease, the combinations and permutations of outcomes, how they would have arrived at that at this stage.
Yeah, I have to admit, I have no idea. Having taken this from our former director and legal counsel, I can't answer that question.
Other questions from council? Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. So just in the agreement there, or in the staff report, it does mention that we'll be losing some storage space. And I'm just curious, when we build the new fire department, when we get the new fire hall, will we still be in a shortage of dry space, like heated space?
Mayor and council, once we complete the new fire hall, we will be less at risk of needing that space. However, we're already storing material or storing some equipment outdoors that ideally should be in protected heated space with the completion of the operations facility when we were operating out of the old fire hall space. And so we'll be extremely pressed until that's built and then less pressed, but the city will require additional space sooner rather than later for some mobile equipment and fleet. Yeah.
Just for clarification, so those in the public listening, is when the new fire hall is complete, that will house our fire rescue equipment. The equipment that is currently stored at the fire hall, the old fire hall, will move to the operations building.
That's correct. One complicating factor is we do lease additional dry heated safe space to store off-season equipment that should not be exposed to the elements. And that space is very much wanted by another organization in the community who have been waiting patiently for us to complete our fire hall so that they can expand their operations. And so there's pressure there as well to conclude that lease so that we're no longer leasing and co-locating with BC Hydro and NUBCO.
Thank you, Mr. Baranowski. Any other questions from council? With that, I will ask Ms. Daniel to read the recommendation.
That council authorize the disposition of the city's interest in PID 016-141-156, Lot 11, Block 18, District Lot 4580, Kootenai District Plan 734, and PID 016-141-172, Lot 12, Block 18, District Lot 4580, Kootenai District Plan 734, the lands by way of a lease with the Elk Valley Family Society on the terms and conditions as attached to this report.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. This moves us on to item 11.5, stratification of a previous occupied building, that being 1422 9th Avenue. Report from Mr. Simolini, our Manager of Planning.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to bring up the slideshow. All right, there we go. So this is an application for a stratification of a previously occupied building, and I'm not sure if this council's had the opportunity to see one of these before or not. But nonetheless, when a building is not stratified, for example, apartment buildings or fourplexes like we see here, it is a requirement that council bless that stratification before it can occur, and council has the opportunity to put conditions on that stratification as well, which is again part of the recommendation tonight. So this building is one of the many fourplexes in the annex, on the north end of the annex. Several of them have been stratified in the past. This is another one. Situation, and it's not to go into specifics on the situation, but essentially there are multiple owners on one title, and they just want the ability to sell their portion separately. So this would do that. So as I said, council can.
Sorry, Mr. Simulini, Councilor Hamilton.
Just for clarification, in this slide, the highlighted lot is 1442, but the application is for 1422. Am I correct?
Yeah, let me just double check on that, Councilor Hamilton. Yes, Councillor Hamilton, that's correct. So it's just the wrong one that's highlighted there. So it would be the one lot to the south. So what the legal description and the civic address that are in the recommendation are the correct address.
Good eye. Carry on, Mr. Simulini.
So as I noted, council can apply some conditions, and that's what we're looking at today. But council also has to consider several things through the Strata Properties Act. Priority of rental in the community, proposals for relocation of tenants, life expectancy of the building, major increases in maintenance costs, and other matters that council may consider relevant. In this case, priority for rental, if it were a building that was currently being rented, it would be a little bit of a different situation where we'd potentially be putting people out of a home down the road if the lot got sold or the building got sold out from underneath them. That's not the case. It's not currently rented. So it's the same for relocation of tenants as well. Being no tenants, there's no relocation needed. Life expectancy of the building. One of the conditions that's in the staff recommendation is that the building has to be brought up to code, and that's actually also a requirement as well. So that increases the life expectancy of the building. Major increases in maintenance costs. Again, with the building being brought up to code for the stratification, that would reduce any potential maintenance costs. And again, any matters that council may consider relevant, which we can discuss if there are any tonight. The city's policy is that in our affordable housing strategy is that 50% of the units should stay rental for 10 years. Again, they're not currently being rented. So as a matter of fact, you could argue that there's a higher percentage chance that they will be rented in the future. Because previously it was a vacation home that again was not rented, but if a new buyer comes along and purchases that lot, they may put it up for rent. It's also a decent inroad for home ownership as well. We do a notice of stratification, and we identify how those tenants will be assisted in relocating. But again, there's nobody that needs to be relocated. So conditions of approval. Again, the building must be brought up to code. The building will need individual sewer and water services. So right now, if the building is serviced with one service, it'll need 4 services. That being said, those services don't need to come directly off of our line, so they can piggyback off of the existing service because all of the land around the building is common property. So the idea behind that is if you own your lot and you need to shut your water off, you shouldn't be shutting your neighbor's water off as well.
So sorry, Mr. Simley, just for clarity, it would come from the main and on a single line with a manifold that would feed each of the individual units.
Yes, Your Worship, that's correct. Yeah, that's they would have to propose a plan and have it approved before moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. We would do a section 219 floodplain covenant. It is in the floodplain. That being said, it's the dwelling unit is currently below flood construction level, but it pre-exists there. So there's no real issues with that.
Councillor Hamilton?
How does that work then if they have to bring everything up to code, but the dwelling is already below code
Yeah.
or sorry, below the
Yeah,
floodplain.
yeah, your worship, through to Councillor Hamilton, the flood construction level isn't part of the building code. So it's just the building code needs to be adhered to. So yeah, they don't have to bring it up. That being said, the covenant is important in that it does contain indemnification language for the city. And it also establishes that, look, you are below flood construction level and you're not to say add a suite or something like that, that further contravenes the floodplain management bylaw. It is in a multi-family permit development permit area. So if there was any exterior works, they would need a development permit for it. Again, the final starter plan would be submitted to the city for us to sign off on. There's a couple, again, with it being an older property in the neighborhood, there's a couple minor encroachments, I think there's a shared stairway between them and the building next to them. So it would just need to be, that would need to be sorted out legally. And again, that all of the yard space would be registered as common property or limited common property to ensure that it's shared between the four new owners or whoever owns the units. So our recommendation is that council approve the strata conversion, but also put the noted conditions forward, and that would allow us to move forward with the applicant towards stratification.
Thank you, Mr. Similini. Questions?
I do want to apologize to Ms. Daniel if she has to read that entire.
I saw her go get her water bottle before.
I honestly think in the future we could potentially do like a PLA or a letter type thing that gets attached to the staff report that allows council to do a shorter shorter resolution. We could look into that
in the attached letter.
Yeah, you might maybe see that in the future, but again, I just have to make sure that we're allowed to do it that way.
No, I appreciate that. Any questions for Mr. Simini? Councillor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. Not specifically to this property, but there are quite a few stratas in that neighborhood. We ourselves lived in one of those units not long ago. My question is to your earlier comment that there needs to be separate lines to each of the units in this particular strata. Is that the case with the other strata units there too? Like they haven't been brought up to the most existing building codes?
Your worship, through to Councillor Ramirez, it depends on when that building was stratified. I mean, if it was stratified years ago, or if it was first built as a strata, I couldn't comment on what the configuration would be or if it's up to code. But if it were stratified fairly recently under the Strata Properties Act, that would have been taken care of at time of stratification. So we would have gone through a process very similar to this one.
Yeah, and to your earlier observation, we have seen the one strata on 2nd Avenue, the commercial with the residential above in our time in office, and the same, of course, was true then, that the service had to be independent for each unit. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, thank you. Councillor Audrey Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. A couple of things, if I may. Manager Similini, there was talk about plowing the laneway, and I know if necessary, and that would the cost would be borne by the owner occupiers. But would we have any trouble with city infrastructure if that was being plowed?
Your worship, through to Councillor Audrey Kelly, are you relating to the water lines potentially freezing and those types of things?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't comment on that for this property. We didn't receive any comment back from our operations department relating to that, but it could be an area where there are shallow water lines, and that is a potential issue.
Can I follow up, Your Worship?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just I wondered about that because obviously some of the age of the infrastructure and it being in the annex, and there was mention of the water line already being, the way I took it, undersized. So would we be indemnified for that kind of thing?
Yeah, Your worship, through to Councillor Audrey Kelly. So that would be part of that, bringing the servicing in. So if they needed to do 4 services, they could potentially have to have a larger service come off of the main in order to then split into 4 separate services if it's undersized. So that would be part of them bringing it up to code, so to speak. I should also note with the parking and lane plowing point that these are existing dwelling units. The lane could be plowed as is as well. So just stratifying it doesn't necessarily change that.
Yeah, and I think historically, most of them are plowed by the owners or by a combination of owners. Yeah. And I did want to comment, I liked the comment in the report, which I think is a good one in terms of once the strata is created, there is an opportunity there for if one of the units is sold off separately for entry-level housing or closer to entry-level housing than we typically see in our community. So yeah, I think there's value there for sure.
Yeah, it does sort of meet one of those gaps in the housing continuum for sure.
I agree. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, Ms. Daniel?
That council approve the proposed strata conversion of a previously occupied building for the building located on Lot 9, Block 117, District Lot 4588, Kootenai District, Plan 902, 1422 9th Avenue into 4 strata titled lots, subject to the following conditions being addressed prior to the endorsement of the strata plan by the authorized signatory of council. A, the applicant shall obtain a building permit from the city of Fernie and complete the requirements to the satisfaction of the building official that are outlined in the Fernie Fourplex Code Review Report, Building Code Analysis that is included in attachment 1 of the staff report. B, the applicant shall install individual water and sanitary servicing to each strata unit to the satisfaction of the city of Fernie. C, the applicant shall register an S-219 covenant on title to the satisfaction of the city of Fernie as the property is located in the floodplain as per Schedule L of the official community plan and the city's floodplain management bylaw. D, for any exterior works on the subject building or landscaping on the subject site, the tenant shall obtain a development permit from the city and work shall be carried out in accordance with any development permit issued by the city. E, the applicant shall submit a final strata plan in substantial compliance with the approved draft strata plan and in compliance with all applicable bylaws of the city of Fernie and regulations of the province of British Columbia. F, the applicant shall register easements with the neighboring property for the northeast roof projection and steps over the subject property. And G, the parking areas and yard spaces shall be registered as common property.
Can I ask for a mover? Moved by Councillor Ramirez, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? Councillor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just as a comment, fully support something like this as ourselves being beneficiary of what manager said, the entry-level housing and then upgrading to something better and bigger. That's the typical Fernie dream. So, really want to see more of these happening across the community. That'll be great.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Simulini. A very thorough report.
Thanks, Your Worship. Credit to Planner Erica Hornquist on that report.
Thank you. Item 11.6, flag policy. Report from the Director of Parks, Facilities and Recreation. Mr. Logan, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am also presenting this report on behalf of the former corporate officer, or corporate admin director. Sorry, Mayor. So I'm excited to propose this policy for your adoption. This has been in the making for quite a while. Basically, a necessity for my department was to get some clarity on the rules around flags. There's been numerous occasions where we've been asked to fly a flag. We didn't have any rules around it. We have to get council involved through reports, etc., have internal talks. It's a bunch of time dedicated towards deciding whether or not we should fly a flag or do a half-mast flag. So hence the policy. Basically, I don't have a PowerPoint provided. I was going to walk through it super quick. If there's any questions, feel free to fire them my way. So as I said before, the purpose is essentially creating a process and defining a service level related to the flags. We also need to make a couple edits, and I'll get into those, the reasons why. But basically the scope and applicability for this is to have the ability to, through this policy, dictate when we lower the flags to half-mast, when we'll put up flags for special occasions, and who, should they pass away, do we lower flags for? There's only a couple locations where they have the ability to lower flags. The most recent ones are at City Hall, where we installed 3 flags this year. One of them was donated. And then we have 2 flags at the courthouse that can be lowered as well for half-mast. We don't have the ability to lower flags anywhere else, and that's why you don't see it referenced in the policy. We also want to draw the line somewhere. It does take some staff time and coordination, some time from corporate admin for taking in requests, etc. So after a robust internal review, we've landed on just those 2 locations at the moment. We also have flags at other locations. They're noted in the policy. We have a couple at the Visitor Information Center. We have one at Rotary Park. We also have one on top of the oil derrick, and you'll notice it's not referenced in the policy because we want to remove that one because there's no safe way to replace it in regular intervals, which is also in the policy. There's been a number of times where we've had flags sort of, without anyone keeping an eye on them. They've come frayed or tattered. They're not a good representation. So this way, once the policy is adopted by council, we'll be able to stock a decent supply of all the flags in our warehouse and have them changed in regular intervals and have backups. So prevent some scrambling, in other words. The couple changes I'd like to point out, and this is just through some grammatical changes. Small words do mean things. The policy was created a lot just to create a service level, as I mentioned. So we are following the national standards for flags and provincial standards, but they are in a modified version of it. And they're modified in a couple ways. And probably the most obvious way is just the list of recognizing deaths as they come up. If you go on the website, it's a pretty significant list. There's actually, I think, like 14 pages of situations where we'd lower it to half-mast. We're not Parliament Hill. We have a modified version that makes sense to us as staff that still acknowledges important people and past councillors, et cetera, et cetera. So the one change is actually in the policy statement, and maybe corporate officer can help wordsmith, but the city will fly flags in a modified version of the national and provincial standards, instead of saying in compliance with. If we're actually in compliance with both those standards, it's a pretty, I wouldn't want to set my department up for failure, in other words.
Well, it's pretty onerous, I would think, as you say, if there's 14 pages of commitments, I think we want to avoid that.
And then the other small change, and this is probably not as important, is just when discussing disposals of flags, there's technically 2 ways to dispose of flags. And they're both in a dignified manner. So just generally stating that flags shall be disposed in a dignified manner. For example, some flags are supposed to be torn in strips in the colors so they don't resemble the flag in the end. We'll do a modified version of that. It'll be in a dignified manner in a private setting and not drawing attention. But it may not be exactly as prescribed in those regulations or guidelines. With that, probably the most interesting part is in the section 3D, where we actually provide a list. That is likely what could have some discussion of council around, whether that's a fulsome list we want to add, subtract from that list. Other than that, just noting the special occasion flags, there has been a number of opportunities of people or sort of situations where people have come to our department asking for the pride flag, for example, to be put up. This just creates some process around it to request from council. And then also noted in the policy, the CAO and mayor have the ability to call an audible in the moment for lowering a flag to half-mast as well. So any questions, I'll try to answer.
Questions from council? Councilor Ramdas.
Thanks, Your Worship. It's just, I must have asked this via email a couple of months ago too. I'm just, it's remarkable that the city has been around for 125, 126 years, and how did we not have a flag policy for so long?
If you'd like me to answer, it doesn't surprise me. Service levels are a hard thing to describe, and in my mind, policy is the only way to do that. So really, this is like staff's ask of council to formalize it so we can know what level of service we're providing consistently. And this is one example of many, and that's why policies are coming forward that are sort of explaining the service level, so then staff can actually have something to stand behind and carry out.
And I very much appreciate personally the clarity that it provides, because as you say, Mr. Logan, any number of requests will come, and if we have a policy that we can point people to, then we can let them down gently, as it were, that we're not in a situation where we can do that, or can't, depending on the. Councillor Audie Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. We had a question at our town hall about our own City of Fernie flag. So just was kind of wondering about that. Apparently we have one. You won't be able to see the image of it on my phone. But wondering, do we still have one, and how come we don't fly it? Was the question asked at the town hall.
I may defer this question to the CAO.
Thank you. We have a modified version that we have been flying. We do not currently possess, to my knowledge, a full size of the, is it the stag with the diamonds, yellow flag? Off the top of my head, and it's unfortunate because it's dark and I can't just look out the window and see. We are flying an alternate version of our flag, not the one that's most commonly known. And simply because we do not have one, we need to get one.
Okay, and are we pursuing one?
I haven't. Oh, am I incorrect? My understanding was that we do not have one. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
Sorry. So we fly 3 flags at City Hall. Initially, it was going to be City of Fernie flag, Canadian flag, British Columbia flag. After discussions with YQT, it was decided that we would fly the YQT flag permanently, and that's why you see the YQT flag, the Canadian flag, and the provincial flag. In a row of 3 flags, the center is considered of utmost importance, and then to the left is considered second most important, I guess. So it's up to council whether we fly Canadian or the City of Fernie flag.
Well, I guess ultimately I'd like to see a City of Fernie flag. I am in favor of flying the City of Fernie flag, quite frankly, with the 3, with the Canadian flag at the center and our City of Fernie flag on the left and our YQT flag on the right. But I guess, and Councillor Audie Kelly, you're right, we saw some images of it at the town hall, but for the life of me, I don't have a good sense of what it looks like, to be perfectly honest. Councillor Shoesmith?
If I may, it's actually on near the Pelican, just in the middle.
Oh, is it the same?
Yeah, right in the middle there.
What the coat of arms is on the flag? Is it? Okay. Mr. Baranowski?
There are 2 versions, and we have one of them in our possession, which we've been flying. One is simply 3 mountains with 3 black diamonds on a blue background. The other has the head of a stag in a diamond, and then in a corner blue and the 3 peaks. And I forget which one we have in our possession at the moment, but there are 2 official flags. We have the gold one with the stag's head in our possession.
And is that the one we're flying currently?
There's currently no City of Fernie flag at the moment being flown. There are opportunities to have it at other locations. The courthouse, for example, we only state the Canadian flag is flown there. In this policy, we would need to change the 3 flags at City Hall from being YQT, the Canadian flag, and provincial flag.
Okay. Well,
which council can do.
No, I appreciate that, and I got that from the policy. I would like our City of Fernie flag flown somewhere prominent in the community, and look to council for feedback. Councillor Audie Kelly?
I just wanted to support what you're saying, Your Worship. I would like to see our flag flown in the community as well. I actually, I thought that was a really, really good point that was made at the town hall to us. I'm not sure of all the protocols involved. About where, like, City Hall seems logical to me.
Yeah, it does to me, and not least of all because, well, at least currently that the tenants in the courthouse are the province, and it seems to me that the Canadian flag and the provincial flag would be appropriate at that building, and that the City of Fernie flag would be appropriate at City Hall. Yeah, yeah. Do we need a resolution to that effect?
Sorry, Your Worship, I'm just writing a resolution with the proposed changes from, I was going to call him Councillor Logan, from Director Logan. Sorry, you're looking for a resolution to have the City of Fernie flag flown at City Hall?
At City Hall, and I apologize because I can't recall from the policy. And Mr. Logan, maybe you can, it's only the Canadian flag that's flown at the courthouse? Or there's two flags there?
Yes, correct. There's two flags. One's the Canadian flag and one's the provincial flag.
Oh, so that, we can just leave that the way it is?
We could leave that the way it is.
Perfect.
Yep. I was just noting that as potentially another spot where the city flag could be flown if we wanted to leave that alone.
Yeah, no, I actually like the idea of flying it. It seems natural to me to fly it at City Hall. I'm looking around the room if there's any objection.
I would just ask for a 2-minute recess so I can write a comprehensive statement to cover all of the amendments.
Absolutely. I'll grant you that. Thank you, everybody watching at home. We're going to take a 2-minute break. welcome back, everybody. Ms. Daniel, I think are we now over to you in terms of reading the resolution? Okay.
All right, so the proposed motion would be that flag policy CP 2024-004 be amended as follows. Under policy statement, the second sentence be replaced with, "The city will fly flags in alignment with national and provincial standards," and that section 1 be amended to 1B be amended to state, "The city of Fernie will fly the national flag of Canada, the city of Fernie flag, and the Yakakakliat flag at City Hall," and that section 1B be amended to state, sorry, section 1A was that first part, section 1B be amended to state, "The city will fly the national flag of Canada and provincial flag at the Fernie Courthouse, the city will fly the national flag at the Visitor Information Center and Rotary Park," and that section 2.7 be amended to state, "Flags shall be disposed of in a dignified manner," and that the flag policy CP 2024-004 be adopted as amended. Yes.
The mover? Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Ramadas. Any discussion? Councillor Ramadas.
Thanks, Your Worship. How do we propose we manage Pride flag with this new proposal here?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It seems to be to Mr. Logan if he wants to contradict me, but specifically for the in the instance where we want to fly the Pride flag, that we would take the city of Fernie flag down and fly the Pride flag in its place in an expression that Fernie is an inclusive, supportive community, and that following Pride that would come down and the city of Fernie flag would go back up. Councillor Hamilton?
Thank you. Following in that vein, do we need to encapsulate something in the policy that all special request flags get flown in that similar manner, where the city of Fernie flag is brought down and or is replaced?
Mr. Logan?
Yes, you are correct. There would be one addition to that. I think Meredith's got it right now, but yes, the city of Fernie flag would then come down and whatever special event flag would go in its place. And there is in the very back in section 4, special occasion flags. So the process would be 4 weeks in advance of the date they would need the flag flown. They would, what does it say? Submit in writing to the corporate administrative department requesting that, and then that would appear in front of council for their approval.
So we're comfortable it's captured in the policy without further amendment?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Meredith, you have 4B as fixed up.
I did
to
not
say
have 4B
city.
in there. So to be a corporate officer, I'm going to ask that we make another motion to amend the motion to include a further amendment that section 4B be amended to state special occasion flags will be flown in place of the city of Fernie flag at City Hall only.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Ramadas. Any further discussion? Councillor Nixon. This is on the amendment.
Oh, no.
Okay, nothing on the amendment.
Okay. Councillor Shoesmith.
One word, kludge.
With that, Councillor Artie Kelly.
Sorry, Your Worship, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that for every special occasion request, council approves it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct. The alternative is having the staff approve it, which then doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Opinions differ.
Yeah, I'm happy to see these requests as council. I think everybody, Councillor Nixon.
Could we, thank you, Worship, could we put them in days of significance? Like, I mean, during Pride season, could we just put it automatically up and just leave it to staff to do that rather than the Pride Society coming to us with a week left and then we don't have a council meeting until later that month? And do you know what I mean? Like if we just put it into the days of significance, under section G for, the Pride Festival, that sort of.
No, I'm more comfortable receiving a request and us responding to a request. And because there is also for those Pride, for example, a significant event of raising the Pride flag in the community. I think.
Yeah.
I think all that's important as part of the process. Councillor Ramdas.
And I also appreciate the opportunity to interact. Like if we put it in a policy that.
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Mr. Logan.
I meant to build into my presentation some acknowledgement. We did get a significant donation from NWP Coal for the YQT flag pole and the installation costs, just over $13,000. So a very generous donation. I wanted to acknowledge them publicly.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Logan, for raising that. Yeah, because that is, and on behalf of council, happy to pen a letter of thanks to them for that. Yeah, that is a very generous donation. So very much appreciated. Thank you. So I'll call the vote on the amendment.
On the amendment, yes.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. And now on the original motion, all those in favor?
Sorry, original motion as amended.
As amended, I'm sorry, as amended. All those in favor? That's also unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Logan, and thank you, Ms. Daniel, for your patience in that. We're now at reports from council, and I do recognize we have an in-camera session following this. So if you have something to report, please do. Let's keep it brief so we can move along, but I'll start with Councillor Ramdas, if that's okay.
Thanks, Your Worship. Remembrance Day was a great event. Thanks everyone who participated. Every year it gets better and better. Yeah, echoing your sentiments at the earlier point there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Few things to report. I attended the RDEK Volunteer of the Year Award last Monday, as well as Town Hall for the RDEK. It was well attended. We obviously had our own Community Council Town Hall last week. Remembrance Day as well was another wonderful celebration, very poignant and moving. And had another executive meeting for AKBLG, or I guess it was actually end of last week. We're discussing some of the advocacy pieces, and we'll be moving some pieces forward now that we have a government decided, and looking forward to that work.
Thank you. Councillor Shoesmith.
Not a ton. I also attended the ceremonies, and it was good to see them well attended, etc. The Legion did a really good job. I'm very happy to be back in this seat, having relinquished the giant set of scissors and chair that the mayor gets. Yeah, that was quite enlightening, sitting in your shoes for a little while. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Again, kudos to the Legion and Jennifer Cronin for the Remembrance Day service yesterday. They did another fantastic job. Just want to also remind people that the RDEK Climate Action Plan is in draft mode right now, and they are looking for feedback. So go to the website and fill out the feedback form. Hopefully they'll listen.
Thank you, Councillor Nixon. Councillor Artie Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to say thank you to staff that helped arrange the town hall, and thank you to the folks that did come to it. And I hope to see more folks come to the next one. And I wanted to also say thanks to Councillor Shoesmith for filling in while you had to be away. You did a really good job, Councillor Shoesmith, and much appreciation to you. Also, to echo other people's sentiments about Remembrance Day, it was very lovely. I think the Legion is to be commended for how hard they work to make it such a beautiful ceremony. And then just shout out to the community. And I would like to maybe advance discussions about the possibility of budget open house so that we could maybe engender some more engagement for that. I think Councillor McIsaac was on to something there. So if we could maybe talk about that a little bit at an upcoming meeting. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Councillor. Not much for me. I also wanted to say thanks to everyone, council staff and attendees for our town hall. I really do enjoy that. I had a brief conversation with Ms. Daniel today about getting better, more consistent communication about our council cafes, and so we're working on that. I wanted to share with council that at the regional district meeting this past week, you will recall there was a request for funding for an economic development position. Conversations on that have been deferred. District of Sparwood indicated that they were not in a position at this time to fund it, so it's been deferred until at least July of next year. And staying with the RDEK, there is a for those who are interested in fire hall conversations, there is a Hosmer specific fire hall conversation tomorrow evening in Hosmer at 7 p.m., which should be certainly interesting. And with that, I will ask Ms. Daniel to read the in-camera resolution, please.
That the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to Section 91C of the Community Charter, as the subject matter being considered at this time relates to labor relations or other employee relations.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? Just to say, we will take a 20-minute recess. We will relocate from here over to City Hall. And with that, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening.